Los Angeles is quiet at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the thin Chinese student Doug walked through the early morning yen steps to the hillside next to the Royce Auditorium. After a fight with Darren Collison, he is exhausted. He lay down on the soft grass on the hillside and looked up at the starry sky that had not yet dispersed. "I heard that there will be a meteor shower today," he murmured, but there was no sign of rain in the sky. Doug is a sophomore international student at Anderson School of Business. He received a full scholarship in his freshman year. For this reason, the school arranged him in a special 4-bedroom and own-a-living dormitory. There are 3 other full scholarship students living in the room. Unfortunately, these 3 are not rely on academic performance, but on basketball. They are ace guard Darren Collison, super center Kevin Love, and the team's number 3 backup point guard Russell Westbrook. Kevin Love is a nice big white man, low-key, calm, and he doesn't like to boast. Russell Westbrook is also very simple. Except for his taste in clothes, which makes Doug feel a headache, he meets all the requirements of being a best friend. In fact, even the English name of Doug that is currently widely circulated comes from his handwriting. However, Darren Collison, the NCAA 5-star player, the super core of the school team, he is too arrogant and can't let any roommates in his eyes. Moreover, he always makes the public area of the living room miserable, and often brings different female companions back. His hygiene and living conditions make it intolerable for the hygienic Doug. Within a year, the two had no less than 20 conflicts. There were 7 or 8 physical conflicts. Every time it is equal. Although Darren Collison is more physically fit, Doug is more agile, and he has also studied martial arts, knowing where to fight the most. Therefore, the two sides have maintained a situation that no one can kill anyone. Tonight, a fierce contradiction happened again. Darren Collison played an elephant-like performance last Sunday, scoring 22 points, 11 assists and 6 rebounds. He won the attention of a large number of NBA scouts and even appeared on the cover of Slam Dunk magazine. This made him very excited, constantly comparing his name with LeBron James or O.J. Mayo, and declared in the dormitory more than once, "Wait and see, I will be an NBA player soon, and I will soon become a multimillionaire. Now, you losers are waiting to sit in front of the TV and watch me walking up to the podium in Madison Garden." He is always so unobstructed, everyone doesn't like him. Tonight he invited a large number of female students to the dormitory to have a party, making the living room torn up like a garbage dump. In the manic music, an angry Doug turned around and smeared his condom with hot sauce. At 3 in the morning, a scream came from Collison's room. Then the conflict began, and the two sides fought. The wind blew gently across the treetops, and the French plane trees made a rustling sound. The distant horizon quietly revealed the sun's rays. Doug, lying on the grass, thought everything was wonderful. Although he is a top student in the business school, he is very much like a musician. He subconsciously hummed, "Coffee on the left bank of the Seine. I have a cup and taste your beauty. A mouth with a lip print. The flower shop rose, whose name is wrong. The confession balloon, the wind blows across the street, a smile is flying in the sky. You said that you are a little hard to chase, and you want me to retreat from the difficulties." Recently, some melody and lyrics popped up in Doug's head for some reason. I don't know if it was caused by that accident. 3 months ago, he was hit on the head by a modified high-chassis Hummer on Beverly Hills Boulevard and fell to the ground. The car drove over him because of the chassis. It is higher and has not been crushed to death. On the contrary, feeling time becomes illusory in the dizziness. Finally, the beautiful blonde girl woke him up, and Doo-Ji repeatedly confirmed that she was okay, even though she offered to send Doo-Ji to the hospital for examination. But Doug hurried to catch a plane to return home, leaving only his business card. Since then, when Doug watched the news or other information, he would have an illusion every now and then. "I seem to have experienced this once." He has asked many people, including Westbrook. No one finds it strange. Westbrook even explained it from a psychological point of view. Listen, Snoopy. This is the phenomenon of instant vision, also known as the sense of vision. It is something that has never been experienced, or a scene seems to be at a certain time. A sense of déjà vu that I have experienced. Psychologists also pointed out that people sometimes don't need real memories at all, and the brain may create a familiar feeling by itself. It's hard to believe that Westbrook's appearance and his ostentatious appearance as a non-mainstream make people believe that he can say such knowledgeable words. Dougie deliberately looked for a book on psychology and confirmed that this is not an isolated case, and finally feels at ease. Come down. The stars are densely covered, and the night is quiet and beautiful. I sing so well, I should go to Berkeley Conservatory. Dougie said to himself. When he was very young, his mother, who was born as a singer, cultivated his talent in music, and he obtained the 10th level of piano professional certificate when he was 11 years old. A pair of slender hands made the domestic piano master praise it as a gift from heaven. Doug must be accepted as a closed disciple. Unfortunately, his father, Mr. Duke Feng, a well-known real estate developer in eastern Zhejiang province, does not want his son to become a classical pianist. He hopes that Doug will study finance and become a financial magnate in the future. He is fed up with being called a local. Big money humiliation. He hopes his son will be more foreign than those who criticize him. As a result, he sent Dougie to the second-ranked Anderson School of Business for further studies. To be honest, Doug is a person who takes things easy. Since he was young, he was used to being arranged by his mother to learn piano, dance, martial arts, and violin. He never resisted, and he was able to learn very proficiently in everything. Regarding his father sending him to Anderson Business School, he actually didn't complain much. Just, what shall I do in the future? With his eyes looking at the sky, he doubted the future for the first time in his heart. The stars in the sky, the moon, and even the shadow of the sun on the horizon, the quiet night sky maintains a strange balance, and the thousands of stars do not even flicker. Can't even God give me the answer? Duke suddenly felt a little frustrated. At this time, a flash of fire rushed in front of my eyes. I saw a hot, dazzling fireball falling from the sky. Damn! It won't really be a meteor. Doug is about to get up and flee quickly. Boom! A scorching warm current hit his body directly, and he was stunned and could no longer move. It was only burned by the scalding inside the body, as if being burned in a high-temperature furnace of 1000 degrees. And what is more painful than burning is that the limbs, bones, flesh, or blood vessels, are madly flowing with a torrent of hot steel. Am I going to be liquefied by the high temperature? This is the legendary Reaper is here? Doug was so desperate, he couldn't imagine how sad his parents would be when they learned that he was missing. I don't know how long it has been. Russell Westbrook's voice came in his ears. Snoopy. Where are you? Snoopy. I'm not dead yet? His fading consciousness suddenly woke up, and his consciousness of survival became extremely strong, and he found that the torrent of steel in his body seemed not so hot anymore. I don't know if it is because it melts into the body to automatically cool down, or because my consciousness is close to numbness. He tried to move his body, but found that he couldn't move at all. At this moment, Russell Westbrook saw him. Hey, I said Snoopy, you did a great job tonight. Now Darren has gone to the hospital, and his concubine. Now, we should discuss the next step, you said. We are the first call his mother, or his fiancée first. Or Coach Holland. I can't wait to replace his starting position in the varsity team. Russell came over. Why are you lying here? Aren't you afraid of the flu virus? He stretched out his hand and tried to lift Douglas up. Doug blinked his eyes desperately, trying to make him give up. The vast darkness. Reading www.uuganshu.com. Westbrook could not see the movements of Dougi's eyes clearly. He stretched out his hand to hold Dougi, just about to pull him up with force. Suddenly, a warm current poured in from his palm frantically. At the moment, he felt a warmth inside his body, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. Following the torrent of steel, poured into Westbrook's body. Doug's body finally regained some consciousness. About 20 seconds later, the torrent of steel stopped venting, and about 20% passed into Westbrook's body. Westbrook shook his head. He lifted Douglas up. "Snoopy, did you feel warm and comfortable just now?" Doug shook his head, but his neck creaked. "No. I feel that my body is full of energy now, and I want to go to the arena to dunk like crazy right away." Westbrook got more excited as he talked, and then he ran away. Doug clearly felt that his speed was faster than before. Westbrook gets more and more excited as he runs, all kinds of changes, all kinds of sprints, all kinds of jumps. 5 minutes later, he ran over with excitement. "Hey, Snoopy, see you? I am faster and stronger than before. I will never be physically bullied by Collison anymore. I just want hurry up and call that to the court and let him see my strength." More than a year of hard training is finally harvested. Bobby is right. As long as you practice hard every day, you will definitely change from quantity to qualitative change. Russell Westbrook was smug and extremely happy. Doug wanted to smile and congratulate him, but found that his smile became extraordinarily rigid. What exactly is going on? Why did Russell's physical fitness upgrade completely, but I became a half-man, half-iron steel robot? Darren Collison temporarily left the dormitory. He found a bad reason to ask for leave from coach Ben Holland. He said that he stepped on soap while taking a bath in the bathroom, and then broke his calf and caused the thigh ligament tear. Need 3 weeks of rest. What else can Ben Holland say? He didn't want to say anything, even if he knew Darren Collison was lying. The medical records sent from the hospital didn't write that way. However, Collison is the absolute core of the Bruins after all. Moreover, the NCAA game is still in the group stage. His rest will not have much impact on the Bruins. So, open one eye and close one eye. During the 3 weeks that Darren Collison was absent, Russell Westbrook kept bringing back good news from the training gym. On the first day, he told Doug that I was finally able to dunk. The next day, he told Doug, "Did you see it? My height and wingspan have all increased." On the third day, he told Duggar that I led a very strong offensive from the bench today. Mr. Ben Holland is already considering including me in the starting lineup. In the future, he might even play doubles with the Darren Collison. Point guard tactics. 4th day. The 5th day. On the 12th day, "Hey, Snoopy. Did you watch the game last night? We killed the University of Washington. I scored 16 points and 11 assists. I was interviewed by 3 reporters, and I paid 11. I signed it personally. I have seen the NBA beckoning to me. Mr. Ben Holland told me that if I continue to improve, I can even become a 5-star player." On the 13th day, "Hey, Snoopy. This is your Big Mac beef burger. You have eaten 18 of them. You should go out to exercise more. Come, look at this Sports Illustrated, which has my report. You should learn how they praised me. They are saying I am Derrick Rose from Los Angeles. Derrick Rose, what a superstar he is. He can declare to participate in the NBA draft at any time. The super big man who entered the lottery area." The 21st day. Before Russell Westbrook spoke, Doug gave a huge burp. For 3 weeks, he has been eating almost every moment, frantically supplementing food. No one counts how much he ate. But when he stood up, Russell Westbrook discovered that this little man who was only 1.75 meters tall was a little taller than the 191 himself. Most importantly, he was actually much more handsome than before. The puppy used to have a baby face, but now the whole face is cut out like a knife. The facial features are extremely three-dimensional, like a sculpture, not only handsome, but also handsome with an artistic atmosphere. I said, "Snoopy, your height growth is so amazing, even a real Snoopy dog can't grow so much in 3 weeks. You know, I have grown from your height to now it's so high that it took a full summer vacation for sophomore. Westbrook shrugged. Of course, I have to admit that I didn't eat you for 3 weeks during the whole summer vacation. Doug stretched his waist, his body finally no longer gurgled like 10 days ago, it was a little soft, and no longer so rigid. In the past 21 days, in addition to eating, I am adapting to this new body whose internal structure has suddenly and completely changed. He found that if he lay still, his body joints and muscles would become rigid. However, if you keep exercising, you can gradually become smoother. So, he felt that he should go to a professional trainer for consultation. Can you take me to your gym for training tomorrow? Doug said suddenly, I feel my body needs to be adjusted. Russell Westbrook patted his chest, of course there is no problem, I am now the main player. The next morning, Russell took Dougie to the exclusive gym of the training hall. And introduced him to Leon Bob, the team's chief trainer. Leon Bob is proud of his recent breeze, because his scientific training has allowed Russell Westbrook to change from a rookie when he first joined the team to the Devil's muscle man now. At present, many NBA teams have offered him contracts with an annual salary of more than $500,000. So, when Russell introduced a friend to do a professional training plan, he quickly agreed. He didn't even care why this Chinese boy's English name was Snoopy. Isn't Snoopy a dog in the cartoon? When he shook hands with Snoopy for the first time, he found that Snoopy's fingers were very slender and his palms were very large. Later, when testing hard data such as height and weight, I found another surprise. Is 193 centimeters tall and has a wingspan of 208 centimeters. This kind of height and arm span ratio is considered level among blacks. Among the yellow race, it is one of a kind existence. He couldn't help but take a look at Du Ji Gao, this body is naturally suitable for playing basketball. Then, when Du Ji stood on the scale, Bob's eyes almost fell off. Doug didn't look fat, even a little thin. However, the figure above turned out to be 95 kilograms. Westbrook is only 81 kilograms now, and Westbrook has significantly more muscles than him. At that time, he suspected that his weight was broken. He quickly stood up and confirmed that he was still 88 kilograms, his hands were trembling. He wrote down Doug's weight on the physical test form. Then he circled Doug 3 times, patted his body, it was as hard as steel poured out. Is all bones? He secretly exclaimed, this skeleton is too good. The boxing coach must have drooled when he saw it. Snoopy, come here, let's try this. Bob pointed to the bench press and told Duggar. Du Ji reclined. Let's start with 60 kilograms. I will watch it by the side. If I can't support it, I will call me. Bob is not sure whether the thin Dougie can lift 60 kilograms. But soon, Doug gave him a surprise. He lifted it easily and emphasized, it's a bit too light, I can't feel its weight. Bob once thought that this Chinese kid was talking boastful, but when he saw that Du Ji easily completed 20 of them and easily replies with himself, he dispelled this stupid idea. He increased his power to 84 kilograms. This is the weight of daily practice for outside players. However, Doug still completed 5 sets with ease. I think we can add a little bit more. Doug's request is no longer inconceivable in Bob's eyes. He also wants to know how much weight this thin-looking Chinese boy can lift. So, he kept adding pounds. Until 150 kilograms. Doug finally said that this force is very comfortable. He finished 10 sets of bench presses. Bob was shocked to the point that this stat broke the bench press record of active players. Moreover, it is also the top presence in the NBA. Usually only inside players can complete this level of bench press, although there is still a certain gap compared with the natural monsters of Shaquille O'Neal, Karl Malone, and Ben Wallace. However, he is only 19 years old. He is not an athlete, but a top student from the Anderson School of Business. Okay, let's go to the stadium to test the dynamic reaction ability," Bob said to Doug. He took Doug to the corner of the court, placed a few stakes for him, and tested his movement speed. Soon, the results came out. 1 minute 21 seconds. The reaction is too slow. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Whether it is lateral movement or change of direction in a small space, it is not very good. Bob could not help but shook his head. Snoopy, your limbs are not coordinated and your flexibility is too poor. He suggested, next, you need to strengthen training in this area. Doug nodded, he realized it himself. Since being hit by a meteor that night, his appetite has greatly increased, his height has risen rapidly, and his skeletal muscles have become stronger and stronger. This has brought the benefits of increased strength, but also the disadvantage of decreased coordination. However, he found that coordination can be slowly adjusted through a lot of training. At least, today is better than yesterday. He picked up a basketball and began to tap it. He has played basketball before and played well. This good is only at the amateur level. But now, he finds that when he shoots the ball, he has a strange feeling of the unity of the ball. The rest of his body became hard as iron, but his palms became more flexible. I don't know if it's because of obeying the principle of harder is harder, softer is softer. Snapped. 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 He slapped the basketball here like a butterfly. Suddenly there was a loud bang from across the court. Looking intently, a tall black center forward fell to the ground, then clutched his knees and screamed. Bob hurried over. All the players and staff also surrounded there. After a while, the medical staff brought the stretcher, and within 10 minutes, there was a humming ambulance emergency sound outside the basketball hall. Several players carried their teammates out with sad expressions. The expressions of everyone in the uniform team and the coaching team are helpless. Douglas is the only player on our team who can stand and defend against the opponent's center. Now that he is injured, Kevin can no longer claim the ball on the free throw line. He has to go deep into the center of the penalty area, but this is not what he is good at. Nolan, the assistant coach in charge of defense, almost cried, God can't predict that a simple layup will cause such serious consequences. It's really not possible, let's run and blast. The offensive assistant coach Cole suggested, Kevin has excellent CIC and coping skills. He should be able to play the role of Stoudemire. No, Kevin is not a fast-breaking player. Although he can open up space, his athleticism is not enough to support him to maintain a full court run for 40 minutes per game. Also, do you think our 3 control is the guard the kind of player who is good at sharing the ball? Darren, Russell, and Holiday are all offensive point guards. Nolan said tit for tat, moreover, I don't think the system is worse than the running lineup. We will definitely survive the storm. Hey, if you want to maintain the current tactics, you must find an excellent meat shield on campus. He must be able to hold the opponent's center forward. At the same time, he must be stuck in the defensive position for Kevin Love in the penalty area to make him more relaxed. He picked up the rebounds. Cole said disdainfully, do you think you can find a super center with a bench press of 130 kilograms? Nolan could not answer. Watching the 2 assistant coaches quarrel with each other, Ben Holland's already troubled mood even worsened. He was about to scold them. Leon Bob, who stood silently beside him, suddenly brightened his eyes and said, is it necessary to bench press more than 130 kilograms? Hey! Ben Holland frowned and looked at him. Leon, do you think you can find a 130 kilograms bench press student? Is it on the football school team or the lead team? Cole's tone was a little unfriendly. Bob replied calmly, no, it's at Anderson Business School. He is an international student from China, and his bench press data is not 130 kilograms, but 150 kilograms. Bob's words shocked everyone. Ben Holland couldn't help but quickly ask, where is he? Take me to see him quickly. Bob stretched out his hand and pointed a distant finger, and pointed to Doug who was playing the ball over there. That's him. Doug is slamming the basketball over there, fast, fast, and powerful, as if he is beating the drums of war. Ben Holland couldn't help being a little shocked. This ball is too good. Are you sure he is not a point guard? Carl thought Bob must be crazy. Listen, let me stress it again. We need an inside shield, not a point guard who shoots basketball like a juggling show. Mr. Cole, I must tell you honestly. Your judgment is wrong. Bob looked directly into Cole's eyes. His coordination ability can't beat the point guard at all. I even suspect that he can't dribble more than half of the ball field. But if you just need a meat shield, then, there is nothing better than him. Maybe you won't believe that he actually has 95 kilograms, but the data is like this, the weight will not lie. Bob knocked on the record book in his hand. If you don't believe the data I recorded, I suggest you rush over now and have a fierce rugby collision on him. When you wake up from the hospital, you will definitely understand why scientific evidence is more credible than subjective assumptions. Leon Bob's words embarrassed Mr. Cole. At this time, Ben Holland had quickly walked over with Nolan. Hello, this is the Bruins head coach Ben Holland. Ben Holland took the initiative to extend his right hand to Doug. Hello. Doug shook his hand and introduced himself. I am Doug. When Ben Holland tried to spell the Chinese name in English, he quickly added, my English name is Snoopy. Every time Doug introduces himself, he has to emphasize it like this. At first, he didn't like the dog name, but the English pronunciation of Doug is more piercing than Snoopy. Whichever is the less harmful, at least Snoopy is still cute, isn't it? When Duke Feng gave him this name, he constantly emphasized to the guests, my son must be a man of style in the future. Then, he sent Doug to the United States. He didn't even think about the American people's tongue and the English pronunciation of the word Doug, even the name needs to introduce himself twice. At least in the United States, Doug doesn't think this is a stylish thing. Through Duggar's emphasis, Ben Holland finally wakes up from the myth of dog and doc. Okay, Snoopy. We heard that your bench press score reached 150 kilograms, do you suggest that we take a quiz on you? Ben Holland asked. Doug frowned and asked, what test? We want you to practice pick-and-roll screens and blocking positions in the penalty area. Ben Holland said, have you ever played basketball before? Should you know what blocking and screens are? Doug scratched his head, a little embarrassed. I know a little bit, but I'm not sure what I can do. Ben Holland looked sideways at Nolan. Nolan hurried forward. Boy, congratulations on getting the personal advice of the best defensive coach from the NCAA. He is very humorous and has a relaxed tone. Come on, Snoopy puppy. Let me see your power. He took Duggar aside for card position training. Listen. The most important thing about the card position is the bottom plate. Your feet must be firmly locked on the floor, just like a tree rooted in the soil. You must not let your opponent push away from the position, just like me, using you the most the power of pushing me. As soon as Nolan's voice fell, I suddenly felt a burst of great power. What? He screamed involuntarily, then his footsteps were unsteady, and he staggered a few steps forward before stopping. He turned his head and looked at the puppy Snoopy unexpectedly. His eyes clearly said, Hey, man, are you too hard? The puppy is very calm. Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com. Nolan is a basketball player. Although he has never played in the NBA, the iron-blooded forward produced by Arizona State University is also 2 meters and 1 in height, and now weighs more than 125 kilograms. Even though he didn't pay attention to his position just now, the strength that Doug showed definitely surpassed Douglas, who was injured and left the field before. How did you do it? Nolan asked shockedly. Didn't you tell me to use my best? Doug shrugged innocently. Actually, I only used 80% of my strength. Nolan was completely speechless. He can only say, well, remember the technical essentials I told you. You are now stuck with me and encroaching on my space. Then, Doug started to move. He used his strong legs to constantly push Nolan. Nolan struggled with all his energy, but still couldn't stop Dougie from opening up the ground. Easily stuck him behind him, and he could no longer regain the slightest loss. Nolan was completely convinced by Bob's judgment, and then he trained Doug in covering. These two technical actions are very simple to get started and not complicated. This guy's strength is at the NBA level. Nolan told Ben Holland 10 minutes later, although he is not tall, we only need him to be in position and cover now. He is physically strong enough to complete the task. For Nolan's professional ability, Ben Holland very much recognized. So, he walked to Doug again. Snoopy, would you like to be a member of the Bruins? As if afraid that Dougie would refuse, he quickly emphasized, we will not take up too much time for you. You only need to take time to complete some adaptive training before the game day, and then play for 3 to 7 minutes in the game. It's okay. Doug agreed, but he applied, I hope to come here every day for training. If your gym can be open to me for free, that would be even better. There is absolutely no problem. Ben Holland happily agreed, you can now use all fitness equipment for free, and the top trainer of our school team will also make the most detailed training plan for you. You are already a member of the Bruins, you deserve the courtesy that an official player deserves, although we still need about 3 days to submit an application to the school and the NCAA League. Was promised, and Dougie immediately became very happy. This is a very good deal for him. Can enjoy the basketball team's fitness equipment and the services of the top training team without spending a penny. He feels unreal, like a dream. Hey, Russell. Is this what you call electrotherapy? He turned his head to ask Westbrook on another massage table. The two received the services of a professional physiotherapist after intensive training. When the weak current penetrated into the body, Dougie clearly felt that his blood, muscles, and bones were becoming more active. Westbrook was thinking about another thing at this time. He asked Kevin Love on the other side, Kevin. You said that when Darren came back from the hospital and saw Snoopy actually become a Bruins player, he would. What kind of expression is it? I don't know, maybe it's another fight with Snoopy. Kevin Love turned around and warned seriously, listen, Snoopy, we were able to help you in the dormitory before. But in the team, he is the boss and he has a brother, Luke Bamo. Te and Holiday are obedient to him. You must be 100% vigilant at all times now. Love is very serious. Dougie is very relaxed. Before, when he was 175, he dared to face Darren Collison. Now he is 193 and he is not afraid of him anymore. Many people say that Doug has a personality like his mother Lan Phelan, gentle and peaceful, and never anxious. But in fact, he is more like Duke Feng at the critical moment. Duke Feng has a persistent personality. Although he is not highly educated, he dared to go to the dark one by one. Never caused trouble, but never afraid of trouble. After the physiotherapy, Westbrook can't wait to go on a date with Nina. Nina is Russell's #1 fan. When Westbrook could only play 6 minutes per game in her freshman year, Nina had fallen in love with him. Now Westbrook is getting better and better, and the relationship between the two is getting better. It's getting stronger and stronger. In this matter, Doug envied him very much. Thinks he has found true love. He, who is 19 years old this year, sometimes imagines, when will my love appear? As for Kevin Love, he obviously has no concept of love, even though he has love in his name. Compared to women, he is more willing to spend his time in World of Warcraft. As the son of a former NBA player, he is an out-and-out white affluent class child. He doesn't have a slight cent on him. He never talks about boasting and doesn't like showing off. He is just a simple game fat house. This is why Doug became good friends with him. They jointly created a guild in World of Warcraft. Whenever they join the battle group, the Azeroth continent will always cause violent waves. Whether it is a field encounter, an arena, or a battlefield, they can always easily carry the audience. Listen, Snoopy. We should bring this tacit understanding to the court. Next Tuesday we will play against those from the University of Southern California. If you help me carry the meat in the penalty area, I will continue to output beyond the free throw line. You know, I am the best mage in Azeroth. After a hearty victory, Kevin Love loudly emphasized to Doug. His words were full of loopholes, and Doug was about to complain about him, and an unfriendly voice came from outside. Hey, Kevin, are you too optimistic? You actually believe this guy can hold Ty Gibson? Cameroon's power forward Luke Bamoto came in, followed by Bruins number 2 point guard Holiday. They are all members of Darren Collison's team. Is also a 4-star player on the team. They have a chance to enter the NBA. This is our dormitory, please go out. The puppy turned his head. He didn't want to give the 2 seniors of the school team face. Also, please remember to knock on the door next time. The students should have the most basic courtesy. I invited them in, do you have any comments? Darren Collison walked over. He didn't look abnormal anymore. But seeing Doug, his expression still can't hide his anger. I heard you joined the Bruins. Perhaps Mr. Ben Holland should go to see the ophthalmology or psychiatric department. But anyway, as the captain, you are welcome to join. Darren Collison stretched out his right hand. Doug saw that he was acting in a daze, but he held out his hand anyway. As soon as the 2 of them touched their hands, Dougie suddenly felt a stick of mucus in his hands. He was about to let go. Darren Collison clamped him tightly. Ha 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 ha. Bamot and Holiday laughed loudly. Poor rookie, you're done. Darren Collison's smile also turned into a sneer. Snoop Dogg, welcome to join the Bruins. This is a meeting gift from the captain. This time, you don't want to jump up and down like an East Asian monkey. This is African super glue. Darren Collison immediately increased his grip as soon as his voice fell. Once upon a time, every time Doug fought with him, he could not catch Doug. Every time he was flexibly avoided by Duca and counterattacked. This time, he followed Holiday's advice. Bamot, who came from Cameroon, was specifically asked to refine this plant superglue, with no side effects. UU reading www.uugonshu.com but, Snoopy the puppy don't want to break free. Darren Collison vowed that Snoopy's dog paws must be deformed this time, otherwise, how could he eliminate the humiliating examinations and treatments he received in the hospital? He gritted his teeth and exhausted his strength, and Doug's right hand was squeezed and rattled. He is very relieved. However, there is also a trace of regret, because Doug did not even let out a bit of pain. It's very bearable. Just as he was about to increase his strength, Doug stood up. Collison only realized that after 20 days of not seeing him, the puppy was almost as tall as himself. Can't help but feel a little surprised. I don't think your meeting ceremony is enthusiastic enough. Doug laughed. His expression is very relaxed. But, hey. Collison immediately heard the sound of his bone knuckles being worn away, and then a tearing pain spread from his fingers to his mind. What? He couldn't bear it anymore, he screamed, and quickly said, let go, let go, let go. You have super glue on it, you can't let it go. Doug still smiled, and at the same time his right hand began to rub. Suddenly, Collison felt like his right hand was being stuffed into the millstone and rolled, 10 fingers connected to the heart. He was so painful that his body was crippled, and his cold sweat was falling down. Don't try hard, please, don't try hard. What? I can't hear you. Please, please, stop trying. Darren Collison was almost crying. But the puppy still shook his head nonchalantly, inaudible. The Bruins, like NBA teams, have always had the dressing room tradition of bullying rookies. However, what's happening right now is definitely the most extraordinary welcome ceremony Kevin Love has ever seen. Darren Collison, who took the initiative to take the initiative, actually knelt down, tears streaming down his face, and almost fainting. In the end, if it weren't for the fact that I couldn't see it and intercede with Du Ji would never let him go. Even so, Doug still asked him to write down the confession book with his left hand, and press his handprints before he was willing to go to the bathroom to soak the super glue with cold water. When the strong gel was released, Darren Collison's right hand broke free, already squeezed into a ball. In fact, Du Ji did not use all his power, nor did he deliberately crush his bones. But even so, he must be sleeping with pain tonight. You will remember it for me. Snoop Dogg. I will definitely get back with revenge. Darren Collison pressed down his words viciously and turned to leave. Doug didn't bother to talk to him. He had seen through Darren Collison a long time ago. He is a typical black man who is bullying and afraid of hardship and has a low IQ. Hey, revenge? If you dare to go to bed tonight, I think you have a kind. Doug went back to the computer dismissively and was about to play another game with Kevin Love. Kevin Love received a call from his father Stan Love, saying that an NBA scout was coming as a guest and asked him to return as soon as possible. Home. Kevin Love is the same as Darren Collison. They both plan to participate in the 2008 draft. On the current 3 authoritative draft websites, Darren Collison ranks 15th with the highest overall pick, followed by Kevin Love, in the 17th place. Westbrook is still on the sidelines, because he didn't have much playing time in his freshman year and his performance was not good enough. If you rashly announce your participation in the draft, you are likely to lose the draft. He is waiting for the opportunity, hoping to become famous in the next March Madness national competition. NBA draft? Doug didn't think about this at all. He played a game, turned off the computer, and went back to bed to sleep. No dreams all night, very quiet. Westbrook, Kevin Love, and Darren Collison have not returned. At noon the next day, after completing all the courses in the business school, Doug went to the basketball hall immediately. Under the arrangement of Leon Bob, he began to do special training in stretching training and foot movement. Doug's current situation is that he has strong strength, strong card position ability, and strong ability to dribble on the spot. In addition, all the basketball technology is a loophole. However, the current priority is to practice coordination, at least not to be as clumsy as it is now. Bob likes Doug very much. This kid is polite and funny. Most importantly, he is willing to accept his own experiments. Unlike those star players who are determined to play in the NBA, they are always worried about sports injuries that will affect future drafts. Even Russell, he has now begun to reject those high-intensity training programs. Only puppies are truly scientific people. Leon Bob has now transferred all his love to the puppy, because he may never find an idiot who is willing to lie on a yoga ball while lifting 84 kilograms upwards. Only this guy can complete his comprehensive training plan. In fact, Doug also knows that Bob is fucking. His so-called full scientific balance training sounds like MLM. However, Doug doesn't matter, he just wants to make his body less rigid through high-intensity training. Rolling a yoga ball while bench pressing is really effective. Two people with unique goals and needs hit it off. At 3:30 in the afternoon, Coach Ben Holland walked in. Seeing that Doug is being hung upside down by Leon Bob to pass the ball. Suddenly, his eyebrows frowned. He felt that he had to find time to have a good chat with Leon Bob. After all, this is the men's basketball team, not an acrobatic troupe. Snoopy, we will be on the court in 5 minutes, and we will have a full court drill. He said to Doug. Great. Du Ji quickly agreed. In order to stay here for professional physical training, something must be done. Leon Bob reluctantly put the test item down. Duca walked to the court, and all the players were due. Defensive coach Nolan introduced before the start of the group match, "This new rookie is Doug. The pronunciation of the Chinese name is a bit strange, so you can call him Snoopy." The players laughed. Of course, Darren Collison can't laugh. His right hand is still aching. After the brief introduction, Doug put on the yellow vest representing the substitute. Doug doesn't know every teammate. But he saw that Kevin Love, Darren Collison, Barmett, and Holiday are all wearing white jerseys, and they are the main players. Russell Westbrook is a substitute. At the beginning of the game, Doug was not arranged on the court. Coach Nolan deliberately called Doug aside, and he explained in detail the tactical moves and technical movements on the court. What Leonard did for Russell Westbrook just now was to block the screen. He stood with his feet outside the three-point line to provide a barrier for Westbrook and let him get rid of Darren Collison's defense more easily. Remember, you cannot move your feet when you screen. Once you move, you will be fouled by the referee. Coach Nolan explained very seriously. Doug also knew a little about the rules of basketball in the past. Listening to what he said, he understood more deeply. After all, he is a super student of IQ 146. Learning this kind of rule is actually not more difficult for him than elementary school students' two-dimensional linear equations. Therefore, when Coach Nolan explained how to move, he had already begun to think about whether Leonard's position was a problem. He could clearly stand at a 45-degree angle to the left of the basket, so it can not only block Darren Collison's defense with a larger cross-section, but also create a straightforward path for Westbrook. Between 2 points, the straight line is the shortest, isn't it? Look. Anderson's guard position, he is very smart. He stood in the paint ahead of time. He stabilized the rear area, which not only prevented Bamot from entering the field early, but also controlled enough rebounding space. Remember, when your height is insufficient, you can only exchange for a height disadvantage by expanding the defensive range. So, this is what I mean by stabilizing the next game. As soon as his voice fell, Bamot turned around and bypassed the position of substitute forward Anderson, Darren Collison just enough to penetrate the basketball. He jumped high, and thrust the basketball directly into the rim. Roar! Bamot roared triumphantly deep in the penalty area. Anderson's next game was too unstable, he didn't restrict Bamot's movement. He should be a bit further behind. Nolan said from a defensive perspective. Doug didn't think so. He felt that starting from Archimedes' law, when the power is less than the other party, he should try to get in and keep enough leverage distance so that he can guard the soil and water of one party. Of course, he didn't tell Nolan about these understandings. God knows if Nolan has learned Archimedes' laws. Black people always don't like those European mathematicians or physicists. He is more interested. Nolan continued to explain the card position and cover. Doug's curiosity does not stop there. He asked, why only outside players pass the ball into the inside, no inside players pass the ball out of the outside? In theory, the best place to pass the ball is in the basket. The court is arcs-shaped fan, the basket is this position you can pass the ball straight to every corner with the shortest distance. Uyul.ukansha.com. Nolan thought for a while, and then replied, Snoopy, I may not be able to answer your question. Whether it is mathematics or physics, I am in a mess. I only know that the basket has the highest hit rate. Generally speaking, just kill when entering the paint zone, most of them will choose to shoot. Oh. Du Ge nodded. Was silent for a while, and then he asked, why don't the inside players directly dribble the ball? Their pace is greater, and the threat to the basket is greater during the march. Passing will only increase the risk. Because big men have a relatively high center of gravity and are prone to steals and interceptions, even in the NBA, not many insiders will directly launch a quick offensive. Nolan replied. Then Nolan asked again, Snoopy, what type of player do you want to be in the future? Doug thought for a while and said, if I find fun in basketball and are willing to continue playing basketball. I hope I can attack directly from the backcourt, but also grab rebounds in the penalty area. I can also play half-time. In any corner, I guide my teammates to attack, and I enjoy the feeling of guiding the whole team forward. It's like solving the Olympic Games problem. I always like to start from the big picture and then start with the details. Du Ji replied seriously, so, if you really want to find a position for me, I hope it is a guard with a knife. To be honest, Nolan didn't understand. But he looked at Doug's figure. He thought, Snoopy thinks it is too difficult to get a foothold on the basketball court. His height is only 193, although his arms are long, his strength is also very strong. However, he has more shortcomings. He has no ability to hold the ball, no shooting ability, no basketball experience, and relatively slow movement responsibility. He can only be a temporary meat shield. When Douglas returns, he will have to leave the team. The game lasted 8 minutes. The main team is already 11 points ahead. Although Darren Collison is not in good shape, but the inside combination of Kevin Love and Barmott will make Anderson and Leonard on the bench blast out of Riggio, if not for Russell Westbrook. Full of strength, the game has long been reduced to a unilateral slaughter. Snoopy, are you ready? Ben Holland suddenly turned his head and asked Doug. Du Ji subconsciously stunned, then nodded, well, I can play. Ben Holland blew the whistle and replaced the white forward Anderson with Doug. Wait a minute, buckle 2 on his head. Darren Collison called the 2 forwards Barmott and Wright to his side and said, he is not tall enough. When the opportunity comes out, I will pass the high toss for you. You always pay attention to cut in. He completed the air raid on his head. No problem. Barmott looked confident and even whistled. He can't wait to rush to the sky and dunk on the Chinese boy. After the game restarts. Doug did not appear to be flustered and overwhelmed when the rookie first came on the court. Without explaining the tactical system to him at all by Ben Holland, he went to the depths of the penalty area in advance to seize the most important key area. Ben Holland and assistant teacher Nolan glanced at each other, their eyes pretending to be satisfied. Good location. At this time, Westbrook violently changed direction and directly killed Darren Collison's defense. He was like a Hummer that suddenly drifted, breaking through Collison's defense in an instant. During this time, Westbrook has improved too fast. He was completely transformed into a beast on the offensive end, he rushed into the penalty area like lightning, and Barmott hurried up to make up the defense. Westbrook flicked his wrist and passed the basketball deep in the penalty area to Doug, who was in an absolutely open position. Doug received the basketball and was a little stunned. Then, remembering to shoot the ball, he tossed the ball up, bang. Basketball strikes iron without accident. Kevin Love quickly grabbed a rebound. Immediately handed over to Darren Collison. He wasted a great offensive opportunity. Cole, the offensive assistant, said sourly next to him, we can't put someone who has never had any contact with regular basketball on the court. It doesn't matter if he has a bench press. Whether it's 130 kilograms, it's still 150 kilograms. This is a matter of principle. He must have the ability to put basketballs in the basket. What he said is very reasonable, although he is emotionally targeted. Ben Holland pursed his mouth, did not say much, but looked at Duggar on the court, hoping that he could surprise himself on the defensive end. Darren Collison quickly brought the ball to the front court. He entangled with Westbrook for a few seconds outside the three-point line. After returning from the hospital, he suddenly found that Westbrook had suddenly improved, and his physical fitness had improved, as if he had changed. In the past, he could still be crushed by his physical fitness, but now even if he maximized his power speed, he couldn't get rid of him. Instead, he would be forced to a dead end. He had to ask Kevin Love to come out and give him a pick and roll, after he quickly drove into the paint area. Seeing Du Ji actually tighten to the basket. hurriedly threw the basketball into the sky, and then Bamot, who was ambushing on one side, rushed up quickly. He leaped high, preparing to complete a shocking aerial attack. Nolan reluctantly covered his eyes. He had anticipated an inhumane riding buckle incident under the basket. Bamot's physical fitness was too good, Snoopy was too short, and he was still standing so close to the basket. Basket, riding buckle has become inevitable. Ben Holland shook his head, thinking that he was still a little too reckless yesterday. How could he suddenly recruit a member of the school team because of his bench press performance? The number of members of the school team is very precious. I knew it would start a school-wide internal selection. Better than this. The loss in his mind has not yet been fully expressed. Duke from the depths of the restricted area soared into the sky. His legs seemed to be filled with fuel, and he lifted off into the air. After extending his right hand, he patted Bamot overwhelmingly. Poor Bamot just grabbed the basketball, flap. The basketball was locked by Doug's right palm above the hoop, and he suddenly made an effort. At the moment Bamot felt a huge force coming, making him no longer able to control his center of gravity. Boom! The basketball was smashed to the ground. Bamot's feet softened when he landed, and Yu read www.yuyuganshu.com actually sat on an stick, very embarrassed. At the same time, Du Ji landed on the ground. At 1.93 meters, he stood in front of Bamoto, extremely tall. How so? Ben Holland couldn't believe his eyes. Snoopy actually covered the sprint dunk that Bamot was ready to start in place. His vertical bounce just now was absolutely close to 1 meter. You know, half of his forearm has exceeded the basket. Cole next to him was also dumbfounded. He muttered in his heart, how is it possible? Said on his mouth, the bounce is so good, why didn't you dunk just now? Yes. Ben Holland turned over, why didn't he dunk just now? With the bounce ability he just showed, even dunks with both hands on the spot is not a problem. At this time, Westbrook also walked over to high-five Du Ji, and asked Du Ji this question. Doug kept a cool expression at the moment he blocked the shot. As soon as he heard Russell's question, his face immediately fell into tears, and he whispered to Westbrook, you may not believe it, but I can't jump up with a basketball. My jumping ability can only be used when I jump in place. When I sprint, I can't jump anymore. Westbrook heard this and was surprised to the extreme. If it weren't for knowing that Snoopy never lied, he would have doubted that this was the stupidest joke he had ever heard in his life. The reason for this is actually because Du Ji's coordination ability is too poor, and the ability to control the body is insufficient. So his gorgeous dribble can only stay on the spot, and his violent bounce can only take off on the spot. Once dynamic, he must put more energy on his body balance. This is a sad story. At the moment when Bamot was overturned from the air, Du Ji's mood had unprecedented excitement. For the first time, he felt that basketball is also a good sport. This kind of real confrontation and power collision is more interesting than playing World of Warcraft. So, when the main small forward right launched a breakthrough dunk in the next round, he once again looked at the opportunity to burst into the sky. Snap! A fierce slap from the sky knocked Right to the ground. Right was smashed, and his hurts. Doug was very excited, you have to sprint more into the restricted area in the future. I like this kind of direct confrontation very much. Basketball should be played like this to excite. However, Barmett and Wright are not the kind of people who do not hit the south wall and do not look back. They quickly retreat. No one wants to be repeatedly broken from the air by the defender. Cruelly thrown on the ground, this feeling is like being thrown into the trash can as rubbish, or the kind of trash can without classification mark. Snoopy's bounce speed is very fast, so he dared to squeeze under the basket. When the opponent landed and prepared to dunk, he directly soared into the sky and overturned the opponent with his strength. Nolan explained on the sidelines, in the NCAA without defense for 3 seconds, his move is enough to make up for the lack of defense when Douglas is absent. Even his aggressive blocking will cause greater psychological damage to the opponent. So, the next thing we should do is teach him how to avoid fouls. And how to dunk. Correct. Ben Holland agreed. So, he ended this confrontation training class hastily. He quickly called Leon Bob over and opened up a half-time zone. Bob, I want to get Snoopy's full medical report now. I want to know his jumping height, 3/4 of the sprint time, lateral movement speed and half-time fixed point running speed. Soon, Leon Bob started the test. The coaching team of the Bruins stood by and watched. The results came out soon. The sprint time of 3/4 of the audience was 5.4 seconds, which is very bad. Lateral movement speed, bad. Half-point fixed point running speed, bad. Approach high, 3.22 meters, bad. In situ bounce height, 1.01 meters, abnormal. The advantages and disadvantages are particularly obvious. The coaching team was all dumbfounded. He had never seen a physical examination report so peculiar, and he did not expect the contrast to be so strong. A player who can reach 3.69 meters on the spot is only 3.22 meters high. It takes 5.4 seconds for a 3/4 sprint of a person with a perverted projectile speed. You need to know that Westbrook now only takes 3.16 seconds. So, are Chinese people so weird? Ben Holland couldn't believe in Arabic numbers anymore. Du Ji smiled awkwardly, maybe it's only me. At this time, Leon Bob came over and explained, there is a fact, I must tell you. Snoopy has grown by 18 centimeters in the past month. The sudden increase in height will reduce the coordination of the body, and he must have it takes a time to get used to the almost completely changed body. So, the dynamic data you see doesn't actually have complete reference significance. After a while, it might get better. How long does that take? Ben Holland asked with concern. I don't know. There is no answer. Leon Bob spreads out his palm. Some people may be able to adjust it completely within a few months, and some people may not be able to adjust it in a lifetime. Next, I will treat it as my most important subject. If this matter is thoroughly studied, then there is no doubt that I will become a leading expert in kinesiology in the world today. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Leon Bob is very ideal. He has never wanted to confine himself to the training hall, he wants to benefit all mankind. If it was any other time, Ben Holland heard his senior trainer say such unreliable words, he would definitely let him taste what the spit of water was like. But now that such bizarre things have happened, why does he not listen to his nonsense? Well, Snoopy is over to you. I hope you can train him as well as Westbrook. Ben Holland said, I must now include him as one of the Bruins' future plans. I will definitely complete this scientific work well. Leon Bob's eyes are glowing. So, when the Bruins players were in the second half of the drill, the poor puppy was hanged upside down again. This time, Du Ji received the task of piercing the balloons hanging on the wall one by one with a saber in his hand. Leon, I think it's time for you to find me a part-time job in the circus. Duggar tried to sway the rope to pierce the balloon, while complaining angrily, this is so much more interesting than a puppy who is piercing a ring of fire. A monkey riding a unicycle is much more interesting. Shut up, my Snoopy. You should feel honored that you are the first person in the world to receive all-round scientific training like me. I am exercising your waist and abdomen strength, understand? You want to adjust the coordination, waist and abdomen are the top priority. Leon Bob always has his theory. Doug thinks he must be fooling. But in the turmoil, he could indeed feel that his ability to control the body was stronger. In order to restore the body's free movement as soon as possible, he gritted his teeth and endured it. To be honest, although Leon Bob's scientific training is very unscientific, his massage techniques are indeed very good. After the training, Leon Bob personally massaged Doug for nearly an hour and a half. Due to Du Ji's steel and iron body, he was sweating profusely. Regarding this, although he complained on his lips, his hands were not at all ambiguous. After the massage, Du Ji felt that the muscles and bones all over his body were loosened a lot. Before leaving the physiotherapy room, Leon Bob said half joking and half earnestly, "Snoopy, do you know? I have never tried so hard with my wife. So, you must become an NBA player in the future. Only in this way can the advertising effect of my scientific training be maximized." NBA player. Doug kept thinking about this on the way back to his bedroom. He also watches the NBA, but he never thought of entering the NBA one day. But now listening to Leon Bob say this, my heart feels a little itchy. And, in the afternoon, the 2 blocks gave him a strong sense of pleasure. He enjoyed the feeling of pulling people down from the clouds. Oh, forget it. If my dad knew I was going to play professional basketball, he would definitely break my leg. He shook his head and walked forward. While passing by the Powell Library, a familiar Chinese call suddenly came from behind. "Hey, Doug, is that you?" Du Ji turned around. He saw Su Yalin, a fellow in eastern Zhejiang, waving to him. He hurriedly smiled and walked over. "I haven't seen you for 2 months, you actually grow so tall, and more handsome than before." Su Yalin was surprised. He joked, "It must have been my girlfriend to improve my diet, right?" No. Du Ji shook his head quickly, "You know me, I am not very active in this regard." "Haha, then you have to take the initiative. I tell you, Bai Mei likes humorous and funny boys. Like me, now all 100 people have been cut." Su Yalin blew the cowhide. Doug just smiled. Then, Su Yalin asked him again, "Do you have time on Wednesday night?" "Wednesday night?" Du Ji frowned. "Because there is no school holiday for the Lunar New Year this year. Many Chinese students have not returned home. We plan to hold a Lunar New Year party in advance, and we will invite celebrities in the school, including rugby stars and basketball stars, to participate. I heard that there will be domestic celebrities coming together. It's Mr. He who organizes this New Year's party, you know." Su Yalin added. Doug usually doesn't like to play with the Chinese study abroad circle. He thinks that some Chinese students who often get together to have parties are not here for reading at all. They mix in various circles every day, and they basically hang high on their studies. Doug really doesn't like this kind of playful attitude. Although he knows that these people have strong family backgrounds in China, personal hard work is also very important. "I will call you on Wednesday. If I have time, I will come over to celebrate the New Year with everyone." This time, Doug did not refuse. After all, it was a New Year's party. If you are studying abroad, you can't go back to your country and get together with Chinese people. It's a bit of fun. It can be considered as a new year. "Okay, then it's settled. At that time, I will introduce you to Bai Mei." Su Yalin raised her eyebrows ambiguously, turned and left. Du Ji smiled and shook his head. Returned to the dormitory and found that Darren Collison had moved out of the dormitory. "Thank God, it's finally quiet now." Kevin Love walked over and gave Du Ji a high five, and said, "His departure will bring us closer. We can finally form the Ace Three Musketeers." "Hey," I said, "the Ace Swordsman, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and enter World of Warcraft." Westbrook yelled over there. Doug and Kevin Love quickly entered the service. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Team up to fight a copy. "Puppy, your 2 blocks are so cool this afternoon. I have never seen the Collison organization so frustrated." Kevin Love said to Doug while brushing the elite monsters, "To be honest, I can't wait to get here on Tuesday. Last season, USC forward Ty Gibson covered me 3 in 2 games. On Tuesday, you have to help me build it back if you want me to bring you filet mignon from home." Kevin Love's athletic ability is not very good, but Ty Gibson is very athletic. He wants to find his place, so he can only hope for Doug. Doug is a rigorous person, he dare not promise anyone anything before he has determined the strength of his opponent. So, after playing a round of World of Warcraft, he specifically opened Google and searched for videos about Ty Gibson. Ty Gibson is the ace power forward of the University of Southern California. He has a strong style of play, strong mobility, and excellent offensive and defensive skills. Watched for almost an hour. Doug had a solemn expression, and then told Kevin Love, on the basis that I have enough playing time, I can help you cover him at most 2. The third is almost impossible. Doug is never a boastful person. So, Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook were shocked at the same time. Who is Ty Gibson? Southern California's inner core, future NBA player, although he is 23 years old, as long as he participates in the NBA draft, there will be teams willing to sign him in the first round. But now, Snoopy actually said that as long as he is given enough playing time, he can cover him 2 in a single game. What is this concept? Coach Ben Holland announced to Dougie on Monday afternoon that the NCAA League has officially passed his naturalization status as a player, which means he has officially become a member of the Bruins. Kevin Love and Westbrook screamed with excitement about this news. Collison's small team didn't seem so happy, but under Ben Holland's gaze, they clapped their hands perfunctorily. Due to his official naturalization, Doug must quickly pick his jersey number, otherwise he will not be able to participate in the game tomorrow afternoon. Doug chose number 8 at the beginning. Chinese people like this number. But Coach Holland told him, in the NCAA, the 4 numbers 6, 7, 8, 9 are referee numbers. You can go from 05, 1015, 2025, 3035, 4045 and 50. Choose one between 55. There are also 0 and 00. Then 10. Dougie chose this number. Coach Ben Holland checked and confirmed that no team member had chosen this number, and he quickly reported it. And let the sponsors quickly make jerseys over. The efficiency of is very high. It took less than an hour and a half before the sponsor sent the jersey number 10 embroidered with the pinion of the Doug surname. Doug put on this jersey, and he felt a sense of belonging inexplicably. Next, he must fight for the honor of the school. The University of Southern California and UCLA belong to the NCAA Pacific Division. In a sense, the two teams are rivals in the same city. Of course, the history is more prominent. But the strength of the University of Southern California in the past 2 years cannot be underestimated. Last season, the University of Southern California doubled the Bruins. This made all the Soldiers side this season and urgently needed to be released on Tuesday afternoon. Coach, are you crazy? On Monday night, in a class-editor meeting of the coaching team, assistant coach Cole loudly questioned Ben Holland's personnel transfer for the next game. Let Russell be the starting point guard, I can understand. But, let Snoopy be the starting point guard. Forward, isn't it too arbitrary? He can't even dunk. He's an offensive loophole when he stepped onto the court. We have to face a 4-0-5 situation. So, I arranged for Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook to start with him. There is also three-point shooter Vincent, plus Holiday. The offensive ability of this lineup is definitely no problem. Holland replied with confidence. But Snoopy is not familiar with our tactical system at all. Cole continued to question. He has a good sense of position. I believe that the top students who can enter the Anderson School of Finance and get a full scholarship will quickly understand the team's tactical intentions. Moreover, he is in urgent need of playing time to enrich his playing experience. Ben Holland did not discuss with him again. Okay, I have already decided. He must use the authority of the head coach, otherwise the meeting will fall into endless arguments. Did you consider the feelings of Darren and Luke in doing this? They have been the starters before, and now they are all switched to the bench, they will feel unbalanced. Coach Cole still thinks Ben Holland's substitution is too radical. I will go and chat with them. They should understand that any team needs to have internal competition, and only competition can make the team better. Ben Holland finished speaking. Then shelved this topic, and then entered the tactical discussion section. For the University of Southern California, we all know each other. After all, they are teams from the same city in the same region, and they play against each other twice a year in group matches. Only this time, suddenly there was a variable. Suddenly Doug appeared, and he was reused by Ben Holland for unexplainable. He actually played as a starter in the first official game of his college career. This is usually the treatment of a super 5-star player. In the latest tactical positioning of Ben Holland, Du Ge's role has become very important. He safely handed over the heavy responsibility of the penalty area to Du Ge alone, and did not consider the intention of letting any teammates assist in the penalty area. Regarding this point, Coach Nolan, who likes Doug very much, has reservations. After the meeting, he approached Ben Holland. I know you want Snoopy to accumulate more experience in the game. While assuming important responsibilities, he was pressured to grow rapidly. You.ukansha.com But, don't you think this responsibility is too heavy for him? This is the first official game of his life. Although we all know how good his defensive talent is, what if he doesn't hold it up? His self-confidence was hit by this, which affected his love for basketball. Coach Nolan is worried. He is not opposed to letting Doug start the game, but he is opposed to Ben Holland being burdened by him as soon as he comes up. He is afraid that this defensive genius will be overwhelmed in one go. Listen, Nolan. I don't want to predict whether he can take on this important task. I just want to tell you that if we want to win this year's NCAA championship, we must accumulate enough chips before entering the national competition. The University of Memphis, the University of Kentucky, the University of North Carolina, Duke University, the University of Kansas. These powerful players will not give us the opportunity to grow slowly. You know, after this season, Kevin and Darren will leave, Holdy, Russell, and even Barmott, they are all likely to announce their rookies. We must immediately accumulate strength for the next school year. Snoopy is a rare talent, and I have seen his information. The family is very rich and he has no reason to enter the NBA right away. So, whether it is for this season or for the next 2 seasons, we must immediately add a burden to Snoopy. It does not matter if the game fails, as long as he can grow up quickly, even if he does not become a 5-star in the end. Player. But as long as he can become a defensive gate, we will succeed. Ben Holland's reason is very good. However, Nolan still feels that this is encouraging the seedlings and is very unfair to Snoopy. A person who just entered the basketball world, you suddenly let him be the core of the inside defense. Isn't it difficult for a strong man? Every game day, Westbrook and Kevin Love will get up early. Today, they called the puppy Snoopy. They ran a circle around the campus. Then Westbrook muttered words to the southwest with a solemn expression. Doug and Kevin looked at him respectfully, knowing that he was communicating with his dead brother, and he hoped that his brother Bals could see his performance today. Westbrook's basketball trip was not smooth, and his talent was not good when he was a kid. At that time he had a good brother named Bals. Bals is a very talented guy. They grew up, occupying one basketball field in Los Angeles, and then showed their dominance at Luking High School, dominating game after game. At that time, Westbrook was just a younger brother of Bals. Bals was a brilliant star. If there were no accidents, he would become an NBA player. But, in the summer of the second year of high school, in a temporary game, Bals left the court forever because of his heart expansion. Since then, Westbrook has carried on his brother's dream and the NBA dream and redoubled his efforts on the basketball court. I don't know if it's because of Bals's spirit of heaven. His height soared during his second year of high school, and then he was favored by the assistant coach, stood out from several shortlists, and received a full university scholarship at the last moment. Bals, I'm going to fight OJ Mayo this afternoon. You used to say that you would meet a star boy from Ohio. Today, I will help you verify his condition. Westbrook communicated with his brother silently. He came over. The three of them walked towards the arena. On the way, Kevin Love asked a very constructive question: "Are you sure we shouldn't eat something else before eating those candle-like nutritious meals?" Westbrook quickly agreed, and asked, "Hamburger or pizza?" Doug has never eaten a nutritious meal, so he doesn't care. However, Westbrook and Kevin Love have different opinions. Westbrook prefers pizza, while Kevin Love prefers burgers. So the puppy suggested, "Hammer, scissors, cloth." Kevin Love nodded, "It's a good idea, but don't you think it's a bit too rigorous?" Then 2 wins in 3 rounds. The puppy is a student of economics, and the 2 wins in 3 rounds system is obviously much more rigorous than determining the outcome of 1 round. So Kevin Love and Westbrook happily accepted this setting and quickly decided the winner. Kevin Love wins. Eat a burger. Hammer, scissors, cloth is really a wonderful dispute resolution solution. Kevin Love shook his head and opened the door of the burger restaurant with joy. The 3 Bruins starters ate burgers with relish. At the same time, Darren Collison and Barmott, who walked into the arena to train in advance, were notified that they would be absent from the starting list. Mr. Ben Holland announced the news to them almost expressionlessly. "Why?" Collison was very surprised. "Mr. Coach, I don't think I should miss the starting position of such an important game. Opposite the University of Southern California is OJ Mayo. He was well known in the United States during high school and was considered. He is a superstar who combines Kobe and LeBron James. Only I can deal with him. His reason is very good." However, Mr. Ben Holland regretfully told him, "That's it, Darren. You have just recovered from your injury, and I consulted the team doctor. Because you injured your calf and pulled the ligament of your thigh. So, we have to put you on the watch list. You know, we have to be responsible for the players' careers. Also, Russell has performed better and better recently, and he should have a chance to show. I believe that he too. I look forward to the collision with OJ Mayo. When you are fully recovered from your injury, you will definitely get a chance to return to the starting line. As long as you perform better than Russell in training camp, just like you did before." Ben Holland's words embarrassed Darren Collison. You reading www.ukansha.com. He must face 2 problems now. The first question is to explain that my calf and thigh ligaments are not strained. I went to the hospital just to save my reproductive and urinary organs. To solve this problem, you must admit that you were lying before, and you have to face the negative public opinion that comes with it and the countless malicious scrutiny. This is a troublesome thing. The second question is that I must explain why I was beaten by Westbrook in 2 consecutive team drills yesterday. And now, he couldn't explain it at all. Westbrook suddenly seemed to be a different person, and his defensive ability simply couldn't stop him. This is another trouble. So, he finally took a deep breath, gritted his teeth and withdrew to the side. Solved Collison. Barmott is much easier to solve. Barmott didn't start often. Before Douglas was injured, the team's inside partners were more of Kevin Love and Douglas. If I don't start, I want to know who the starting player is. Barmott asked, "Are we going to play Phoenix's tactics? Puppy Snoopy?" Ben Holland's answer is straightforward. Barmott's eyes widened in an instant, and he was surprised and couldn't restrain himself. "Why? Why is it a puppy?" Darren Collison stepped forward and questioned directly, Can he start?" Darren Collison had a strong impulse to explode all black swear words from childhood to college. This is the most ridiculous staffing schedule he has ever heard. He even thinks that even if his grandma is put on the starting list, he will only do better than that puppy.